I will call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have roll call, please.
Councilmember Waller?
Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
Ellison? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Mansky?
Yes. First thing up, we have official acts, election of Mayor Pro Tem. Currently, it is who? You, Jeff?
Yes.
I guess I think Mayor Pro Tem Miller is doing such a fine job, we ought to re-elect him again.
I'll second that.
Wow.
Honored.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appointments to boards and commissions. I will make a motion to appoint the board and commission appointments that are listed.
I will second.
Any discussion on any of those? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Ex officios. Is everybody happy with their assignment? Do they want to change? Do they just want to get off of what they're doing? Or exchange? No changes?
I'm happy with where I'm at.
Okay.
Good here. Looks fine for me. Once I get done with rehab, I can probably finally start getting the meetings in. Right now, I'm in cardiac rehab during my tourism board meeting, but
Oh,
I'm not gonna be in that forever.
right. There you go.
So, yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, I guess I will make a motion to appoint the ex officios.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Designation of official newspaper. We can say whatever we want because they're not here. Stevens County Times has listed that they would be available for that. And that's been our current official newspaper.
Aren't they our current one?
They are our current one.
I'll make a motion to make Stevens County Times our official newspaper. I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Citizen comments. Now, if you would like to approach the council that's not already on the agenda, you may do so now. Mike?
Okay, do I need to stand or come up?
Yeah, come up to it's just to record it on the DVD.
Okay. I've got a few here, so bear with me. First, a question. I discovered earlier this month that you guys had passed an ordinance about more than 24-hour parking. What's the policy for enforcement? Because clearly, it's rarely enforced. So what is the policy for it being enforced?
That is not a new ordinance, I don't believe.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's new. We haven't passed any new ordinance, have we?
Not since
Well,
not since I've been here.
Oh,
2007.
It's older than that?
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, it must, I don't remember doing anything.
Okay, well, I've never run into it before, but I made the mistake of leaving a vehicle on the street when we had a short trip out to Pennsylvania, and there was ticket on when I came back.
Is there a short trip to Pennsylvania?
For us, anything less than a couple.
Okay. Okay, I want to clarify what's a short trip to Pennsylvania. That's got to be more than a day, right?
What was it during snow, ordinance?
There was no snow emergency. This is on the alert, so there wasn't any of that. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant because I thought it was in the driveway. I always park in the driveway when we leave. I just forgot when we left this time. But there was ticket on and I wasn't even aware of it, so I went onto the site to see, okay, there's an ordinance, but clearly it's not enforced much at all. I mean, when we're here during the summer, you know, when it's not snow on the ground, that's an ordinance I violate any day the big van isn't driven. So, and I've never gotten a ticket before, so what is the policy? I mean,
It is an ordinance that can be enforced year-round. We highly enforce it and strongly enforce it specifically in the winter when there is the chances of snow, when the plows need to get through and open up the roads. So when it comes to winter time, when there's obstruction to the roadway or it needs to get clear away, snow, ice berms, we will go around
okay, well,
and warn a ticket.
I beg to differ there. This month, as I've gone around to clear sidewalks at various properties, I've paid attention, and there's a couple of vehicles parked in front of one of the places I own that have gone 4 or 5 days without being moved. And one of them sits there up. Now, personally, I think the ordinance is not a good idea for example, over Christmas, family was there. We happen to have a number of bedrooms in our house, so people stay with us. If we hadn't had the issues with snow the weekend after Christmas, we'd have probably had 6 cars, maybe 7, overnight at our house. It would have been, most of them would have just sat there because people get together and they just stay together. It's not like the city does anything about going around and cleaning up streets when they have to go around a car. That ridge, when somebody moves a car, just stays there until they get around the plowing. So, to me, it's an ordinance. It's an ordinance with no good practical purpose. But kind of what triggered that at the same time, I read the newspaper's account of what I believe to be the November 10th board meeting, 10th or 27th, one of the two. Where there was some discussion of you're going to change the parking ordinance over the winter, and there's some consideration to eliminating any overnight parking during the winter. My viewpoint is more than 24 hours of a problem is not a good one. The other one is a lousy idea, is a polite term for it. There's just no reason to not allow residents to park overnight. You guys should keep in mind that your customer here are the taxpayers, the residents. It isn't the Public Works Department. Okay, if somebody parks a car on the street, when there's not an emergency, they got to plow around it. It's a little bit of an inconvenience for them. It's inappropriate to seriously consider inconveniencing everybody who parks on the street overnight. Because there are a lot of people who park on the street overnight, but try to make life easier for the guys when they're out plowing the streets. To take away that convenience for them really is short-sighted. You're not paying attention to your real customer.
When did you say we talked about this?
There was some discussion that we had, I think Blaine.
We're just looking at it.
You actually threw it
Yeah.
over Blaine and said that.
And
It must have
there
been
was-
mentioned very quickly. I don't recall.
Well,
that.
and in fact,
Heavy
there's
discussion
some
about
differences. What the article in the paper said, there's no discussion of that issue being contemplated in the minutes on the city's website. It was, however, listed as one of the things that was potential, and the way the article was written, more than potential, but for
There was
you
no,
guys look at this over the next year.
there was no official action taken on
Yeah,
that,
there was
so.
no official
It was just a
action.
discussion.
I'm here to talk.
Okay?
Okay.
What's your next point?
Then The next one has to do with the weekend after Christmas. Look, it was a weather sequence that wasn't convenient for a lot of people. But if you got around and cleared the snow on the weekend, everything's fine. I happen to have a breakdown in snow blower, so I have some sidewalks that got cleared on Sunday and others that didn't get cleared until Monday. It made a huge difference. Would have made the same difference in the streets. The streets would be a whole lot better if we'd actually brought people out and tried to do as much clearing as feasible on Sunday. It was warm, you would have had streets down the essentially bare pavement, and we wouldn't have all the ice we have in town now. So,
Okay.
people, you know, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to realize what was gonna happen.
I'd make a comment on that. I mean, I wondered that too. Is there some sort of policy that we don't do it as much on the weekends because we're not sending the guys out, or? Because it seems like when it happens on the weekends that we just don't get out and get it cleared. I mean, I thought the
No,
same thing. I mean,
there
if
really
it comes
isn't a
out,
policy,
we would have cleared it. These roads in town would have looked 100 times better.
I do agree.
I mean,
I was kinda thinking along the same line.
and I didn't say anything, I was gonna bring it up, but I didn't know if there was, because it happens on the weekend, that we don't send them out any more than we need to, or, I'm not really sure what happened there, but I don't disagree with your viewpoint on that.
And it's also my impression that we just don't, the city doesn't salt and sand anywhere near as much as they used to. We've got some intersections that unless you have a vehicle that easily stops, you really got to be driving 50 miles an hour coming up an intersection, you still might not stop. That's just not a good situation. Now, that weekend exacerbated it, but there's been days warm enough where salt will work, and we don't seem to.
Well, and that is something that we're trying to do a lot less of.
I'm gonna comment, I thought that because of the stormwater.
'Cause
Is
we're
that a whole issue?
Oh,
a
yeah.
player in that?
Yes.
We're now an
Of course it is.
MS4 permit holder for stormwater, which means that.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
And so my opinion is, if you're sliding through an intersection, you're driving too fast for the conditions. That's the bottom line. I've done it a couple times myself, and I've stopped and said, yeah, you need to slow down. Because you can drive around on icy roads, you just have to slow down.
The intersection in front of our house, I can be doing 10 miles an hour and not be able to stop.
What's your address, Mike?
101 Ridge Road.
No, it kinda comes down a little bit toward, doesn't it?
No,
Yeah,
it's
it's
No,
not.
it's flat.
It's flat?
It's the same one I use.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just, it's where they are. But, okay, I understand, you guys have a problem with salt. Yeah, I understand that, and so you have to do things, and the residents have to put up with that. But, use some more sand. Even that will do some good. So, enough on the parking issues, okay? One final item, that is, I've had discussions with Blaine, I've had discussions with Aaron, I've had discussions with Mike Jacobson, and as I read what the city is contemplating doing in the paper, I think maybe the information that I've been providing to them and the issues I've been raising aren't being communicated appropriately. And the bottom line is, Minnesota Supreme Court told the city of Morris, and not some other city, they told the city of Morris that you can't regulate a building component anything different than the state building code. And yet, you're off down a path where eventually you think you're gonna go in and do that. Now, quite honestly, it's something that's doable.
What do we,
Go get permission.
Water softeners.
Mike, what are we talking about?
Water softeners.
Oh, we're talking about the water softener.
Okay.
Okay?
That helps. I was a little bit out there.
I'm sorry.
I was a little out there.
You have a problem with salt, and it's not of your own doing. Okay, the state is imposing something on it. But if you get to the point where you think you need to do something about softeners inside residence, there's a mechanism to allow you to regulate a building component differently from how the state building code regulates it. You just have to get the state's permission to do that. And so if you had, and in this case, the state's telling you have to do something. I can't imagine the state's going to say, no, we're not going to let you do something different. They might have different opinions as to what to do or not. But if you don't do that, you're doing something that the Minnesota Supreme Court said has told this city that they can't do. So, you know, there's a process here, and it'd be nice if on all issues the city would actually follow the law.
So there's no intention of going into anybody's properties right now. So we're asking people to deal with their water softeners, to set them to the hardness level. We're not regulating them taking water softeners out unless they can't set them to the hardness level that they're getting. And actually one of the things that we did put into the language in the code was we will have to ask to go into a property before we ever go into one. And if the owner, such as you, says, I don't want you coming in looking at my water softener, we won't go in your property unless we follow the proper legal channel for being able to do that. So at this point right now, all we're doing is we're asking citizens to take care of their properties for us. There's actually a letter going out today that's asking them that. And we met with the water softener companies so that we would know and understand what the issues are with them. Quite frankly, there's not that many that are out there that are the old style water softeners, because they probably wore out at some point and they haven't been putting in those old style ones for a long time from what the water softener companies are saying. So you know, when it comes to the point where we determine that we have to go into properties and inspect them to see what they're doing with the water softeners, then we'll take a look at that and how we're going to proceed with that.
A lot of that depends, Blaine, too, on how we progress, right?
Well, and right now, so our chloride limit that we got from the state, the inflow that we have right now coming from properties in Morris is less than what our chloride restriction level is. Unfortunately, there's a lot of salt that's still sitting in the ponds that will wash out into the river when we do the actual dumping of the water into the river. So as long as we meet the chloride level, then that's what we're doing, is we're asking people to take care of it. It makes sense for them to take care of it. If you have a water softener, why would you be spending money on water and salt if you don't need to do that?
Yeah. I mean,
So,
quite honestly, for me, you're preaching to the choir. I don't use one.
right,
But
so then
but
you're
the
good.
point, in fact, yeah, I understand, but all of the information that's being provided to the public from this is, if this doesn't get fixed, we're gonna go do X. And X isn't allowable under state law. One of the things you just talked about, people can't use the old ones where you can't adjust. You can't make them not do that unless you get permission.
So we'll get permission from the state who mandated it. So
Yeah.
now we're done.
Nobody seems to be saying they're gonna go off and do that.
Well, we didn't say we were gonna go take them out yet.
My reading of the information that's being provided to the public is,
We haven't provided any to the public yet. If you read it in the newspaper, we don't write newspaper articles.
the discussions of these meetings go in the newspaper.
Based upon a reporter's interpretation of them, because they were wrong in a couple of different issues that we talked to the water softener companies about. Because it wasn't, what was written in the paper was not what I was saying when we were here. You know, specifically the fact that there's no intention right now of inspecting a house yet.
We don't need to get into the details, but I've had private conversations that response has been vastly different than what you've just given me now.
I think Lane has said that before, that we have no intention of going into houses at this time. So thank you for the heads up, though, about getting state permission. That helps.
Yes, thanks for your comments, Mike. Any other citizen comments? Sid?
I made it in time. I was there. So I have a point of information, not like a real one, that's something you guys say, a thing to inform you about, and also an ask if you have any resources or thoughts. So I've been part of and kind of helped start a group. We don't have an official name yet, but we're kind of thinking of ourselves as like a citizens version of the Morris model. So not like people whose jobs it is to think about sustainability, but people who enjoy talking about these things and having these conversations and wanting to do something about sustainability, but on a people-to-people basis, not necessarily an institution-to-institution basis. And we've been having monthly meetings for like 4 or 5 months now, which is very exciting. And we are kind of aiming to become more educated and sustainable citizens. And so the first part of being that is you have to learn before you can do anything. And so in February, we're going to host our meeting on the first Saturday of the month, and it's going to be about waste. So we're trying to think of local waste experts who we could invite to just teach us things and let us rack their brains about how the waste system works in Stevens County. And before we can make any change to how the waste system works, we should probably know how the waste system works. So A, you're all welcome to come and learn and teach us if you like. And B, if you have any ideas of somebody I should email multiple times to encourage them to come to our meeting and let me learn from them, I would really appreciate it. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Sydney.
Thanks, Sid. Anything else for citizen comments? Okay, we have no public hearings tonight. We do have the reading and approval of minutes for December 23rd.
I'll move to approve the minutes from December 23rd.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. And we have the condensed version which goes in the paper.
I'll move approval of the condensed version of the minutes.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. And we have the consent agenda consisting of the audit of city bills, December transit report, which was down a little bit from last year, but still almost 170 people a day ride the transit. The November 20th tree board minutes, application for exempt permit for Stevens County Pheasants Forever, and gambling reports from Hockey and Eagles, I believe. And I will move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I misspoke. That was just hockey gambling reports. Any questions or comments on any of the items?
Line item 46, Johnson Controls Library Glycol. How are we coming on that?
That should be all done now.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I had a couple of things here. Line item 10, the $2,153 to Burlington Northern is for a municipal parking lot. Is that a lot that we share jointly?
It's the ones that we lease that are over by the railroad tracks
That's what I thought.
on the other side of Main Street. Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was for. And then I see on line item 79, it looks like we made a 33% down payment for a pickleball court.
Yep.
Been talking about that. That's just the down, so then the remaining will have to come later. I
Yeah, it
suppose.
was right around, I think it was right around $25,000. So I think they have all that stuff in now.
And
It's
does
coming
that
in.
price that we're paying, it's Pro Track Tennis, I believe, is the company that we're working with. Does that include the installation of it?
Yes, they're gonna be doing it.
Okay, good. Can't wait to play, actually. It's heard it's kind of fun.
There's a lot of people who have asked about it.
Line item 27, Echo Water Systems Airport Water Softener. Are we still water softeners in the city limits like Fire Hall, the different ones, or not? Are we still?
No, I think we're getting rid of all of the water softeners. That one's obviously outside the city
Yeah,
limits.
but just checking if
the
we
one
haven't.
here, the fire hall, the
Good. Any other comments or questions on the consent agenda?
Just one last question. On line item 59, I see we bought a pressure washer for $6,500. Is that just for use at the garage, just for local cleanup? I mean, or do we use, it's like for trucks? Or just-
I'm sure it's a washout equipment too.
Yeah, it's for equipment and everything, the one that they had, broke down.
Timber crapper, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just thinking, that, I know Jerry's is just building a new truck washer. And if that's something, a service that we maybe want to use for our trucks as well at the city level, but I don't know.
Yeah, and in the county, I haven't heard the latest on the county garage, but one of the things that we talked about in the joint meeting was they're putting in a wash bay there, and whether or not there'd be some opportunity for the city to share with the county on that, and then be able to take the trucks out there, because they're gonna size that big enough for them to bring in all their equipment.
Good. Any other comments on the consent agenda?
That's all I have.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Ordinances and resolutions. We have resolution adopting the 2020 Morris City Council standing rules.
I'll make the motion adopting the 2020 Morris City Council standing rules.
I will second.
I guess before we vote on that, I had sent Blaine an email about should we address electronic correspondence in our standing rules. And I think mainly that we don't, I guess, make any decisions. Dissemination of information is fine, but as far as decision making, and I couldn't find anything in here that, I don't know if Blaine, if you did any research on that, or?
I sent it off to Aaron to let him know. I don't know if you saw that or not, but
What was this one?
the standing rules. Basically, one of the things that we do now is we send agenda packets out by email. So we do have a secure network where we send out the agenda packets, but the open meeting law doesn't allow you to conduct business as a council by email or outside of normal meetings, and whether or not there needs to be some language in here that I would venture to guess that the open meeting law would supersede anything that's in here. But just as a document that has some guidance to the council, it's just maybe good to have something in there.
So your question was, since we're doing more communication with the iPads, should we have something to point out specifically that it's not appropriate to have email discussions about topics that are going to come before the board?
Right, but as far as disseminating information is fine.
Yeah,
You know,
receiving information is
receiving it.
fine, but having discussions would violate the open meeting law.
Yeah. And maybe the open meeting law just covers that, but I just think in our standing rules, we probably should have something. in
It
there.
wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. And not that it has to be done this year, but it's certainly something that needs to be, I think needs to be addressed.
If I understand the way the open meeting law works, it's supposed to work, if I talk to one person, that doesn't constitute a quorum. Like say if there was something we had coming up, and if I talk to Brian about it, that's not really in violation of the open meeting law because it's not a quorum. If three of us are talking back and forth on the computer, then that would be a violation of the open meeting law, if that's the way I understand it. Am I correct on that?
That's right, but generally speaking, the safest best practice is to wait to discuss the issues
At the meeting?
until you come to the meeting, because
Okay.
you can get into a situation where you might talk to one city council member about it, and then another, and another, and then you're effectively
Talking about.
Conducting a meeting.
conducting a meeting.
Yeah. Okay, that's, I guess, solid advice.
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought I'd throw that in.
Great. Okay, any other comments about standing rules? I don't think anything has to be done at this point in time, but I do think it's something that we need to look at, possibly to incorporate for next year if we run into something like that.
Well, it's just good that we discussed it, and yeah, to keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
Okay, we'll have roll call on the resolution, please.
Councilmember Waller?
Yes.
Talby?
Yes.
Ellingson?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Heath?
Yes. City managers report. Oh, wait, we have a liquor license for Best Northland and a dance permit.
That's my question also.
That's the new, that's,
That's the Grand Hotel, I think. The old Prairie Inn, the old Sunwood.
Old son.
so it's changed ownership,
I don't believe so.
No, it's the same ownership.
same ownership,
Just changed name.
changed names. Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I will move approval of the license for Best Northland for their on-sale liquor and a dance permit for the remainder of 2020.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. City manager report.
First of all, I'd just like to thank Chief Welly, Reggie, for the work that they did on the incident at the school. As I indicated in my newsletter, I had a chance to go up there and sit in on kind of the outbrief of what happened, to look at, all the things that happened, and also Matt Solon saw us in the Morris Fire Department. A lot of times we don't realize that when things like that happen, there has to be people that know what to do, and it was very obvious sitting at the table listening to all the things that happened that they're very happy with the reaction from the police department, and then obviously everybody else that got involved with it. It's never a good situation to be involved with, but we're lucky to have a really good group of people that are trained, and even the fire department, you have to have bodies that can do certain tasks like block off roads so people don't get in there, and things like that, and then you never know what's going to happen. So luckily that thing all turned out the right way, and they can finish their investigation and try to figure out who actually did it. But thanks a lot for all the work that you guys did. I put in here an item, and I don't want to really get into it too deep because there's going to be a group of people that are going to come next meeting and talk about this issue, and actually it's going to be on the agenda for the school board. But I was approached by the university and the school district about the softball complex on the university campus, and they have an idea of something they'd like to do there, and they talked to me about it. It's not our property, it's not the school's property actually, but they do have a couple arrangements in place already with the university. The school district does, like Big Cat Stadium and things like that. And we're actually part of community education and recreation and all those kind of things. And it's a very interesting concept depending on what's done, and local fundraising, things like that will dictate what the cost of it is. But I thought I'd just give you a heads up, because some of you, I think you're still on the community ed board, aren't you, Brian? You might know some people. Like I said, the school district's going to be taking up this issue at their next meeting to talk about participating in that kind of a project. So just came up since the last meeting, and I thought I'd share that with you. And they will have some diagrams and some cost estimates put together that they'll talk to you about. I already mentioned the fact that we're sending out a letter to all the property owners in Morris. That went out today. Actually, Stacy got them all together and dropped them off at the post office, so everybody will get a letter that basically explains what happened with the water plant, where we're at right now, what the city council did with the regulation on water softener systems. We actually talked with softener companies. They do not believe that we're softening water at our plant. based upon their industry standards, which is, that's fine. They can believe whatever they want to believe. We're just basically presenting facts, and then we anticipate there's going to be a lot of questions from people about water softeners, and we actually encourage them to talk to softener companies. We are not the experts on water softeners, so we encourage them to talk to the people that are. In a lot of cases, they probably bought a water softener from one of the companies that sells them locally. So that'll go out, and then we're fully prepared to deal with questions, and so are the softener companies. And then the last thing, probably the next council meeting, we're gonna probably have Nick from Ellers is gonna be here and make a recommendation on refinancing some bonds. The bond market for municipal bonds is, the interest rates are really nice right now, and the last one we did was for the fire truck, and I think at that time it looked like everything was, the interest rates were not gonna be as good, and they turned a little bit, so we'll be able to refinance probably 4 bond issues and save some interest money. And the last one refinancing we did, we actually didn't have to go out and do a rating because of the amount of the bonds. So that's where we're at. Any questions? And that's all I have.
Okay. Any other business to come before the council?
Council, I have something I want to bring forward.
Sure, go ahead. No, please.
I don't know if I should have done this earlier or not, but the Morse Department had received a donation of $400, and I'm just looking for the approval from the council to accept it and bring it forward. We utilize those funds to further finalize the fair booth, as it was donated last year from another private party. There's some other projects that need to be completed on it, and that's where we utilize those funds. So I'm just asking for the approval to accept that donation.
Where'd the donation come from?
West Central Christian Homes Board.
Okay.
I think they've done it before.
They've
Yeah, I think
donated.
so too.
Yep, before, so.
I guess I'll move approval of the donation, request for the $400 for regular use as he wants to, I guess.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Can't go
Okay.
over on it though or anything.
Okay, any further discussion?
Kidding.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Good. Thank you, Reggie. Anything else to come before the council? Meeting adjourned for EDA.